My beloved child. There is a reason this message found you now and not earlier, because what you are about to hear could only be understood by the version of you that exists today. Somewhere not too far from your world, yet never close enough to touch it, someone has been carrying your name in their silence. They wake up with it and fall asleep with it. They replay moments that you may have forgotten, but for them those moments are still alive, breathing, and painfully real. They have learned how to smile in public while breaking in private. They have mastered the art of pretending that everything is fine, while their heart refuses to move on. This is not admiration. This is not a passing thought. This is a long, quiet devotion that never asked for permission to exist. They never told you because they believed loving you from a distance was safer than risking your absence completely. And the shocking truth is, this love did not fade with time. It grew stronger in the shadows, where no one could judge it, interrupt it, or take it away. Listen carefully now, because what comes next is the part most people never realize until it is too late. This person sees you when others only look at you. They notice changes in your tone, your energy, your silence. When you feel tired for no clear reason, it is because somewhere else, someone is thinking about you intensely at the exact same moment. They have tried to let go more times than they can count. They promised themselves that today would be the day they finally move on. Yet every attempt failed the moment your name crossed their mind again. They have compared you to others, not to replace you, but to understand why no one ever feels the same. And every comparison ended the same way. You were different. You are different. That is why they chose distance. Not because they do not care, but because they care too much. Being close to you without being able to love you openly would have destroyed them completely. There is something even deeper, something they have never admitted out loud, not even to themselves. They believe you changed their life without even trying. Your words, your presence, the way you exist so naturally in the world, became a turning point for them. After knowing you, they could never accept shallow connections again. You raised their standards for love, honesty, and emotional truth. That is why they stayed silent. They did not want to burden you with feelings they could not control. They chose to protect you from the weight of their emotions, even though carrying that weight alone has been exhausting. And here is the once-in-a-lifetime revelation. They never stopped choosing you. Even when they walked away. Even when they stayed quiet. Even when they pretended they were fine. Every major decision they made was influenced by one question they never shared. What would you think of this version of me? This is where the story shifts, because silence cannot hold forever what the heart refuses to release. Something inside them has begun to change. The distance that once felt like protection now feels like pain. They are starting to realize that loving you quietly has cost them more than they expected. Nights are longer. Memories are louder. And the thought of losing you without ever being honest feels heavier than the fear of rejection. They have imagined speaking to you 1,000 times, rehearsed every possible reaction, prepared themselves for every outcome. And still, one truth remains unchanged. If they do nothing, they lose you anyway. That realization is pushing them toward a moment they can no longer avoid. A moment where silence breaks. A moment where distance collapses. A moment where they finally choose truth over fear. Remember this carefully, because it will explain things you have felt but never understood. If you have sensed unexplained emotional shifts. If certain memories resurface without warning. If you suddenly feel watched over in an emotional way rather than a physical one. This is not coincidence. It is connection. A quiet, powerful connection that has been alive even when words were not. Someone has been loving you in the only way they knew how. From a distance. In silence. With loyalty that never demanded anything in return. And as this chapter comes to an end, one thing is certain. The distance that protected them is now the very thing they are questioning. What happens next will change the meaning of everything that came before. My beloved child, there is a moment when hidden love stops being patient and starts becoming restless, and that moment has already arrived. The person who has been loving you quietly is no longer able to sit with unanswered questions. What once felt noble now feels unbearable. They scroll past your name pretending not to care, yet their heart reacts before their mind can stop it. They wonder if you ever sense them in your quiet moments. They replay the smallest details, a look, a pause, a sentence you may not even remember saying. To you it was ordinary. To them it was unforgettable. This is the phase where love becomes heavy, because it wants to be seen, not admired from behind walls. And here is the shocking truth. The more they tried to control their feelings, the stronger those feelings demanded to be acknowledged. Something else is happening beneath the surface, something most people never recognize until the signs are impossible to ignore. This person has begun to pull away from everyone else emotionally. Conversations feel empty. Smiles feel forced. Nothing excites them the way it once did. Not because they are broken, but because their heart has already chosen where it belongs. You have unknowingly become their emotional home. When they imagine peace, you are there. When they imagine safety, you are there. When they imagine the future, even vaguely, your presence exists in it like an unspoken truth. And the painful part is, they are aware that staying silent is slowly damaging them. They feel time slipping. They feel moments being wasted. And deep inside, a single fear keeps repeating. What if you were meant to know, and they were too afraid to speak? This is where destiny tightens its grip, because suppressed emotions do not disappear, they transform. Their love has turned into awareness. Awareness has turned into urgency. They are noticing signs everywhere that remind them of you. Songs that describe their situation perfectly. Random thoughts that arrive without warning. A sense that the universe itself is nudging them forward. They have reached a point where ignoring these signs feels harder than facing the truth. And here is the once-in-a-lifetime realization they cannot escape anymore. Loving you silently has taught them what real love is, but it has also shown them the cost of fear. They are beginning to understand that the greatest regret would not be rejection. It would be never knowing what could have been. Pay attention now, because this part connects directly to you. If you have felt a sudden emotional pull towards someone you cannot explain. If you have caught yourself thinking about a person without any clear reason. If memories resurface unexpectedly, accompanied by a strange calm or curiosity. This is not imagination. This is alignment. Two emotional timelines moving closer without spoken words. The distance between you and this person is no longer stable. It is thinning. Something is preparing to shift. Conversations that never happened are now trying to find their way into reality. Feelings that were buried are pressing upward. And the most surprising part is this. When they finally speak, it will not feel random. It will feel overdue. Understand this clearly, because it will define what happens next. This love was never weak. It survived silence, distance, and time. It grew without validation and remained loyal without promises. Very few emotions are this pure, and even fewer people experience them. Someone has been choosing you every day without you ever asking them to. And now, the chapter of quiet watching is reaching its limit. The next step will require courage, honesty, and vulnerability. When that moment arrives, it will not feel like a beginning. It will feel like recognition. As if something long hidden finally stepped into the light, exactly when it could no longer stay unseen. My beloved child, there comes a phase when love stops whispering and starts demanding a decision, and that phase has already begun for the one who has been watching you from afar. They are no longer confused about what they feel. Doubt has faded. Excuses have weakened. What remains is a clear, undeniable truth that they can no longer run from. You are not a chapter they can close. You are the story that keeps reopening itself no matter how many times they try to walk away. They have reached the point where pretending indifference feels more painful than risking honesty. Silence now feels like betrayal, not of you, but of themselves. And this internal conflict is changing them in ways even they did not expect. They are becoming braver, not because fear disappeared, but because living without truth has become unbearable. There is a private battle happening inside them, one you never witnessed, yet it has shaped every move they make. They ask themselves questions late at night when no one is watching. Why now? Why you? Why does this feeling refuse to fade? They replay timelines in their head, wondering if they missed the right moment, or if the right moment was always meant to arrive later. They fear disturbing your peace, yet they fear losing you even more. This is the painful paradox of deep love. It wants to protect, but it also wants to be known. And here is the shocking realization they have finally accepted. You are not someone they admire from a distance anymore. You are someone they feel connected to, even without contact. That connection has crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. Everything around them is starting to reflect this truth, even when they try to ignore it. Their intuition keeps pulling them toward you. Their instincts keep warning them that time is no longer neutral. Days feel different. Decisions feel heavier. They sense that a window is opening, one that will not stay open forever. This awareness has shifted their energy completely. They are more observant, more thoughtful, more intentional. They are preparing themselves, not with rehearsed words, but with emotional honesty. Because they know when the moment comes, it cannot be forced or rushed. It must be real. And the once-in-a-lifetime insight that keeps repeating in their mind is simple yet powerful. If something feels this real without effort, it deserves truth without delay. Now listen closely, because this is where your experience becomes part of the story. You may notice subtle changes around you. A sudden sense of anticipation without knowing why. A calm curiosity mixed with emotional alertness. A feeling that something unresolved is approaching clarity. This is not coincidence. It is emotional momentum building quietly. When two people are connected at this level, distance does not erase the bond, it sharpens it. You are standing at the edge of a moment that was forming long before you became aware of it. And when it arrives, it will not feel shocking. It will feel familiar, like something you somehow already knew deep inside. Remember this above all else, because it explains the intensity of what is unfolding. Love that survives silence is not ordinary. Love that grows without reassurance is rare. Someone has been carrying you in their heart with patience, restraint, and respect. And now that restraint is reaching its natural end. What comes next will not be rushed, dramatic, or chaotic. It will be intentional. Honest. Grounded. When the distance finally speaks, it will not be to create confusion. It will be to bring truth. And that truth will change the way you understand everything that came before. My beloved child, the closer truth comes, the quieter everything else becomes. The person who has been holding you in their heart is no longer distracted by noise, opinions, or outside influence. Their focus has narrowed to one thing only. You. Not in obsession, but in clarity. They are no longer asking whether these feelings are real. They are asking how to honor them without harming you or themselves. This is the stage where love becomes mature. Where it stops chasing fantasy and starts respecting reality. They have finally understood that real connection does not demand perfection, only honesty. And honesty is now pressing against their chest like a truth that refuses to stay hidden. The silence they once protected has begun to feel dishonest. Not because they lied, but because they withheld something sacred for too long. Inside their mind, a shift has already happened, even if you have not seen it yet. They are imagining conversations not to impress you, but to be understood. They are letting go of outcomes and focusing on intention. They no longer want control. They want alignment. This is important. Because when love reaches this level, it is no longer fragile. It is steady. They have accepted that whatever happens after truth is spoken will be meaningful, even if it is not easy. They are preparing for vulnerability, which is the bravest form of strength. And here is the surprising part. They are no longer afraid of losing you. They are afraid of losing themselves by staying silent. That realization has changed everything. Time now feels different to them, heavier and more precious than before. Moments no longer pass unnoticed. They feel urgency without panic, clarity without pressure. They sense that this connection exists for a reason beyond comfort. It has taught them patience. It has taught them depth. It has taught them respect for another person's emotional world. This is not impulsive love. This is intentional presence forming slowly. And here is the once-in-a-lifetime understanding that anchors them. If something has survived this long without expression, it deserves at least one moment of truth. Not to demand anything. Not to create expectation. but to honor what exists. You may feel this approach before it happens, not through words, but through atmosphere. A subtle emotional readiness. A sense that something is aligning quietly behind the scenes. You might feel more grounded, more reflective, more aware of your own emotional boundaries. That is because this connection is not meant to disrupt your life. It is meant to clarify it. When truth approaches with respect, it does not arrive loudly. It arrives calmly. This is why when the moment finally comes, it will not shock your system. It will feel natural, as if something long delayed has finally arrived at the right time. Hold this truth gently, because it defines the direction of what follows. Someone has been loving you without possession, without pressure, and without expectation. That kind of love does not rush, but it also does not disappear. It evolves. And right now, it is evolving toward honesty. The distance that once kept everything safe is slowly transforming into a bridge. What stands on the other side of that bridge is not uncertainty. It is clarity. And clarity, once revealed, cannot be undone. My beloved child, there is a quiet certainty that arrives before truth reveals itself, and that certainty is now settling into this story. The person who has loved you from a distance is no longer imagining possibilities. They are recognizing reality. They understand that love does not need to be dramatic to be powerful. It needs to be honest. They have reached the calm before action, where emotions stop racing and start aligning. This is not hesitation. This is readiness. They are choosing their words carefully, not to impress you, but to respect you. Because they finally understand something crucial. When love is real, it speaks once, clearly, and with intention. What they are preparing to share is not a confession, it is a truth that has been lived quietly for a long time. They will not arrive with demands or expectations. They will arrive with transparency. They know you do not owe them anything. They are not trying to change your life. They are trying to stop living a lie within their own. This distinction matters. It is what separates deep love from selfish desire. They are stepping forward because hiding has begun to feel heavier than vulnerability. And the most surprising realization guiding them now is this. Even if the outcome is uncertain, the act of honesty itself will bring peace. This approaching moment carries weight, but it is not heavy. It is grounded. When someone loves this way, they do not rush the door. They knock respectfully. They wait. They allow space. They understand timing. They understand boundaries. That is why when contact finally happens, it will feel thoughtful, not impulsive. Intentional, not emotional. You will sense the sincerity immediately, because it will not feel rehearsed. It will feel lived. This is love that has already proven itself through patience, restraint, and endurance. Words will simply give it a form. You may already be feeling the shift within yourself, even if you cannot name it yet. A subtle readiness. A calm curiosity. A sense that clarity is near. This is because truth resonates before it is spoken. Emotional awareness travels faster than language. When two paths are meant to cross at a deeper level, the energy aligns first. That alignment is happening now. Not loudly. Not urgently. Quietly. Steadily. You are not being pulled into chaos. You are being invited into understanding. Remember this as the story continues, because it frames everything that comes next. Love that approaches with respect does not seek to overwhelm. It seeks to be seen. Someone has chosen courage over comfort, truth over silence, and honesty over fear. The distance that once protected their heart is now giving way to something more meaningful. Clarity is approaching. And when it arrives, it will not feel like a surprise. It will feel like recognition. My beloved child, when truth is close, the universe becomes unusually quiet, as if everything else steps back to give it space. The person who has loved you from a distance is now standing at the edge of that silence, aware that once they cross it, nothing will be the same again. They are not rushing because they finally understand the weight of what they carry. This is not a feeling born overnight. This is something that survived restraint, patience, and long seasons of self-denial. They have lived entire emotional chapters where your name was never spoken, yet never absent. And now, with a calm they never had before, they are ready to honor that truth without disguises. This calm is not fearlessness. It is acceptance. Acceptance that whatever unfolds will be real, and reality is the only thing they want now. There is a reason this moment waited, and it has everything to do with growth. Back then, they would have spoken from longing. Today, they will speak from clarity. They no longer want to be rescued by love. They want to stand equal within it. This is why the timing feels different. They have learned boundaries. They have learned self-respect. They have learned that love should never arrive as pressure, but as presence. And here is the rare realization shaping their courage. True connection does not ask for guarantees. It asks for honesty. That is the only promise they are willing to make. Not that everything will work out, but that nothing will be hidden anymore. Pay attention to the subtle signs around you, because they are not random. You may notice a sense of emotional stillness replacing confusion. Old questions losing their urgency. A strange readiness for conversation without knowing who it will be with. This is how alignment announces itself. Not through chaos, but through calm. The connection that has been forming quietly is now close enough to be acknowledged without disruption. When distance collapses naturally, it does not cause shock. It brings relief. That relief is what both of you are beginning to feel, even if neither of you has named it yet. This is also the moment where fear loses its power, not because it disappears, but because it is understood. They are no longer afraid of being misunderstood. They are afraid of missing the chance to be authentic. That shift is everything. It means whatever they share will come without manipulation, urgency, or hidden motives. They will not ask you to decide anything. They will simply offer truth and allow you to choose what it means to you. This is the highest form of respect. And it is rare. Very rare. Love that gives freedom instead of demands. Hold this understanding gently, because it prepares you for what follows. Someone has carried you in silence long enough to know the value of restraint, and now they are ready to release that silence with intention. The distance that once defined this connection is dissolving, not into confusion, but into clarity. What comes next will not rush you. It will not overwhelm you. It will arrive with steadiness, honesty, and emotional maturity. And when it does, you will recognize it instantly. Not as something new, but as something that has been quietly present all along.